Hey everyone, this is Ryder from Skip. I hope you're doing well. It's Friday, November 27th. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving yesterday, and I hope you have a good Thanksgiving weekend. A very quick update here on the latest stimulus news, including what's being said about McConnell and Pelosi, what to expect in December going into January, and I'm going to talk about something Steve Mnuchin did in terms of moving relief money around. So stay tuned for that. As always, thank you so much for supporting and subscribing to our channel. And I'd love to hear in the comments, how did you celebrate Thanksgiving yesterday? Alone, with someone else, with a few other people? I'd love to hear in the comments how it went. And of course, if you want to share what you're thankful for, I always love hearing from you, reading your comments, and I love hearing where you're from. So feel free to add where you're watching from in the comments as well. Let's dive right in. Stimulus figureheads McConnell and Pelosi are under fire 8 months since the Senate passed the CARES Act. Okay, that's hard to believe that it has been 8 months since the CARES Act was passed. This is from Newsweek. Here's what it says. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi are both facing pressure over the continued delay on stimulus, with 8 months having gone by since the CARES Act was passed. So where's the criticism coming from? Well, of course, all of us watching are critical. We've been watching this daily for the past several months, waiting for this new deal, the new stimulus package to pass. Democrats are criticizing Republicans. Republicans are criticizing Democrats. So that's a lot of what's happening. For example, as we know, Pelosi continues to face pressure from within her own party to accept a lower stimulus package, something that is, quote, palatable to the Republicans, in order to get aid out the door before the end of 2020. Biden has supported this too. He suggests that perhaps Pelosi and Schumer agree to, say, $500 billion, something that McConnell and his party would go for, something that could get passed, potentially be signed by Trump, TBD, but at least be agreed in Congress and get closer to getting signed into law. We haven't even gotten that far yet. The House nor the Senate has agreed on a bill in several months since the CARES Act. So that news isn't surprising, but what is worth pointing out is that, of course, the Georgia Senate runoffs are taking a lot of attention away for what could be focus on getting a stimulus bill, stimulus package passed. Instead, the Georgia Senate runoffs are getting focus. Just to recap, on January 5th, there was a runoff for both of Georgia's Senate seats. The winners of those two seats will determine who controls the Senate. Will it be Republicans or Democrats? So it's a huge deal. Obviously, if Democrats control the Senate too, and the House and the White House, there is the likelihood that things will be able to get passed more. There won't be the check in place to counteract certain bills and proposals, but there's a chance that there will be lots more stimulus funding if that's the case. So anyway, there's lots of campaigning for this. Even Trump said he was going to Georgia this weekend to do some campaigning. And here's what Tom Reed said, who's a Republican from New York, quote, "My concern is that we're getting pushback from leadership saying that the elections in Georgia is their top priority, not getting a COVID package done." He said this on a call with reporters on Wednesday. Quote, "This is just, in my opinion, downright disappointing. Their priorities should be the American people who are suffering, who need a stimulus package." Reed, who is co-chairman of the Bipartisan Problem Solvers Caucus, remember that, they agreed on a bipartisan bill a few months ago that 25 Democrats and 25 Republicans agreed on, but that didn't go anywhere. But when I reviewed it, I thought that was a great proposal and something that should have gotten done. Here we are with nothing 3, 4, or 5 months later. So Tom Reed goes on to say that there is a, quote, path forward to put an emergency bill together before the end of the year that the president will sign, suggesting this could be worth between $500 billion and $1 trillion. Reed spoke of having spoken to White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows and Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. He said this would, quote, get us through March 1st and allow for the next administration to judge if additional stimulus is needed. I mean, that seems very rational and appropriate. Let's get something done now before the holidays, and with the new administration, we can then decide if more stimulus is needed. Here's why. Of course, we do know that jobless benefits, some of those are expiring at the end of the year, so that's a bad sign for people who obviously need to pay rent, mortgage, get food, cover essentials. So that's a reason for more stimulus now. And I'm going to talk about what Mnuchin has done to shield money from Democrats, which is a bad sign. But here's the latest case count. Okay, yesterday we had just over 100,000 cases. That's why we see this dip. Frankly, this is not surprising given that it was Thanksgiving. Many people, even if they were feeling ill, were not going to testing sites on Thanksgiving. So there's no surprise there, of course. There's no way that we dipped 50, 60,000 cases in a day. It's more that people just didn't go to get tested on Thanksgiving. Places were closed, etc. This is still a huge cause for concern. When we scroll up to look at the map, we see those dark purples still all over the Midwest. These are all still per capita cases, with many trends still increasing, with the coast right now being the lighter colors with less per capita infections. Here is what Business Insider reported, that Treasury Secretary Mnuchin is moving almost $500 billion of unspent money into a fund that incoming Biden administration can't deploy without Congress. So it's bad news. Basically what he's doing is moving $455 billion into the general fund. So if they are in the general fund, then in order to use them, there needs to be congressional approval. So if Mnuchin's successor is Janet Yellen, she will only have $80 billion in relief funds at her discretion. Experts say that Mnuchin's move greatly limits the tools available to the Biden administration to manage economic fallout of the pandemic. Here's the important line here. The funds, as I mentioned, will be deposited into the Treasury's general fund, which requires legislative approval to use the money elsewhere. Bharat Ramamurthy, who's a Democrat member of the congressional panel overseeing the funds, criticized this move. Quote, "This is Treasury's latest ham-handed effort to undermine the Biden administration." He wrote this on Twitter. Quote, "The good news is that it's illegal and can be reversed next year." Okay, let's hope that's the case for everyone who's thinking ahead to 2021 and how to get support for themselves as individuals and for their businesses. Obviously, we want to have more discretionary spending available to increase the chances of helping more people. Finally, as we wrap up, if you go to the Skip dashboard today, we put up a new survey. Have you traveled out of state since the pandemic started? If you're curious, we do these surveys every week, which are very interesting to see how people are doing, what people's behaviors have been like, and how they've changed since the pandemic started. I haven't answered this one yet. Let me see. I have. Let's see what the results are right now. So far, 78% of people have not traveled out of state. And of course, download the free Skip app on the App Store and Google Play. One quick note, we have new versions of our app available today in the App Store. On the app, you can book DMV appointments or get a DMV line waiter very quickly. So if you've been thinking about trying to get some DMV business done before the end of the year, whether that's real ID or renewing that you can't do online or taking a permit test, you can do those very quickly on our app. Again, Hello Skip in the App Store, Google Play, links in the description. Most importantly, again, I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I'd love to hear in the comments how it went, where you're from, and what you're thankful for. As always, stay well, stay healthy, and have a great weekend.